Sorry to hit you with your Santa Claus moment, but the ruling class in this country desires war. They're not interested in peace. The reason for that is because the easiest way to stimulate the economy is to wage war. Plus, there's a lot of pressure on these politicians to keep the economy going. War is the best way to do it. And the reason war works is because when you fight a war overseas in the middle of nowhere, you have to build a city the size of Corpus Christi from scratch. That means that everything that you can point to in the room around you or the man-made environment outside your house has to be recreated in order to fight that war. Consequently, everyone benefits off war. That's why we're fighting all these wars. It's to keep the economy going. The ruling class also makes a ton of money off war. In fact, war is nothing more than a welfare program for the rich. I don't care what the circumstances are. I don't care which party is in power. They're all in favor of war. The only one who doesn't win in a war is you, the soldier, and your family. You and your family are the ones who pay. You're the ones who suffer PTSD. You're the ones who end up in a psych ward. It is your family who grieves for your loss or your injury. Nothing happens to the ruling class. The ruling class moves along. They make billions, trillions of profit off war. So that is why we have a war-based economy. In fact, we are war junkies. Now, to keep this scam going, we need to present the illusion of democracy. And that is what we have in this country, the illusion of democracy. In fact, we live in a shamocracy. And it's not hard to do. In a nation of 350 million people, you probably have 30 to 50 million people who take the time to read books, think about issues, and try to understand the underlying causes of a problem, whatever that problem may be. And you would think that that would be enough, but it's not enough. And the reason it's not enough is because you have another 150 to 200 million who don't read books, who don't care to know about the issues, but who are easily herded into the cattle pens of opinion that the ruling class desires. You see, the ruling class controls the media, which controls the minds of men. They do it through a mainstream media that has only the illusion of diversity. In reality, the vast majority of your media outlets are owned by the same megalithic corporations. Even the so-called avant-garde publications like Politico, The Daily Beast, and BuzzFeed are owned by these vast corporations. They give young people the hipness that they desire, but in reality, they are controlled by the ruling class. And what the ruling class is good at is manufacturing consent to do whatever the ruling class wants. So you can have 30 to 50 million people who read about the issues, understand underlying causes, and would like a more intelligent and informed policy. But those people rarely win. Those people are easily rubbed out by the emotions of the screaming mob. And who controls these mobs cheering for Barabbas? The ruling class. And it doesn't matter who is in power. This is not a political issue. I couldn't care less which party you vote for. You're not getting policy that works for you, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. And it's not working because the ruling class controls the minds of men. For example, many of you are against these endless foreign wars. You know that something is wrong there. And what is wrong is that constant war enriches the corporations at your expense. But you will never see the day in America under the current system where your desire to not fight war will prevail. And it will not prevail because the ruling class, which benefits tremendously off war, controls the media, which controls the minds of men. So all the ruling class has to do is paint the enemy, wherever they may be, whether it is in China or Venezuela or Timbuktu, as godless heathens, and the uneducated, poorly read, and emotionally susceptible will fall in line. This programming is done generation after generation after generation. And since the ruling class has co opted the religious leaders into going along with their wars via trips on Air Force One, state dinners, prayer breakfasts, and the other dog biscuits of empire, all the religious leaders need to do is to label our enemies the Antichrist. And who is against battling the Antichrist? The cheering mob is all in when it comes to defeating the Antichrist. Therefore, the cheering mob will always root for war, even though that same war punishes them economically. To understand this, you only have to ask yourself, relative to the technology of the day, which generation is better off? The generation that lived 75 years ago or the generation today? I think you know the answer. Your republic has been diminished and destroyed by the ruling class, which controls the media, which gives you only the illusion of democracy. It's a total sham. Out.